Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. And now let's get on with the show.
All right, Bigfoot Society, I've got the privilege of talking to Priscilla Roseman Davidson and Alicia Pfeiffer today. They are from the Area 58 Museum out there in beautiful Oakridge, Oregon. Thank you both for being on the show today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having us.
I have been looking forward to this interview for a while, as listeners will know, because I talk about it incessantly. I was able to go out to Oakridge this last July. It was a life-changing experience. It's crazy to think it was only for a few days. It feels like it was just forever, and then feels like I've known the people out there for years, but it really hasn't been that long, which is just... So it's weird. It's a weird thing to put into words. I can't really do it. But you guys have some really cool stuff going on out there. And I don't want to recap everything I've talked about, but we are going to be talking about things that have happened since that time, which was July 17th through the 20th, around there, give or take some days at the end. But Priscilla and Alicia, what are some ways, how would you describe what the Area 58 Museum is all about?
Okay, well, let me just start with, so I got a little piece of Peter Byrne's memorial items here that were donated to me from Kathy Griffin, which was his life partner for the past 30 years. With that being said, I wanted to add that I'm a member of the International Wildlife Conservation Society. This was what Peter Byrne had founded. And we are accepting charitable contributions to, tax deductible contributions to the Peter Byrne Memorial College Scholarship Fund with the Oregon Community Foundation. And it will help a student from the Tillamook County area go to college. You can send tax-deductible donations to Oregon Community Foundation, 1221 Southwest Yamhill Street, Suite 100, Portland, Oregon, 97205. I have a bunch of Peter Byrne's items in the museum. I have his prints that he had found in the Bluff Creek area in 1960. And I have a ton of his autographed books and then all kinds of stuff that he had gathered while he was in Nepal. And then I have some items here on display from Don Monroe that were donated. And it was his artist rendition of what he had ran into while he was in Montana. And so we have the dog man that he had seen himself, and he sculpted a clay figure, and it's in here. And the Naha man, which was an artifact that he found while he was 8,000 feet in elevation, and it was the original was donated to another museum, and I have a copy rendition of it. And that's on display here. My best museum piece is the Bigfoot knee impressions that were donated by Al Moon Lab. And whatever made these impressions, which, obviously was a Bigfoot, weighed 1,400 pounds. And they had gotten hair samples from it. And it was pretty exciting piece.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff to see.
Absolutely. I mean, those knee impressions, and I believe it was Tobe Johnson that donated those to Area 58, yes. Correct? Yeah. That's one of I am so excited to see those in person. I'm a big fan of Tobe, and if you want to actually read about those, you can read his book, The Owl Moon Lab. It's just a fascinating story of him, how him and Daryl were involved with that. And to be able to actually, you can go to a place, see things like that in person, see so many different artifacts from Peter Byrne, which, you know, some listeners might not be aware of who Peter was. Peter was one of the very influential figures in Bigfoot history back in the 1960s. And to be able to go to a place where, you know, down in your area of Oregon, where there's so many artifacts, it is very, very cool. I want to also make sure people are aware that this isn't just a place where you can see different artifacts, but you also have things that people can purchase as well, different Bigfoot related items or things like that. What kind of things do you have available for people to purchase in the gift shop side?
So I do have a Bigfoot supply kit where it'll have plaster cast material, so if you find prints that you can cast them, a flag so you can find it when you have to go back and dig it up. And then I have different things like EMF detectors, so you can document if there's any other energy around that you might not be able to feel yourself. And there's tweezers and vials and stuff, so in case you find hair samples. I have maps of the area, and things like lanterns or flashlights that you can purchase that go out with you, and binoculars, and little hunting supply stuff.
Good stuff for field researching, but then there's also really cute like Sasquatch wall art and little decor pieces or knickknack, keychains, beanies, and hats. And then there is a fantastic selection of books too. Some of them signed even. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and all of Peter Byrne's stuff is signed.
Oh wow. So that's actually a huge deal. So if there are hardcore Bigfoot collectors out there, mm-hmm. they can actually go to Area 58 and purchase books that were signed by Peter Byrne.
We have The Hunt for Yeti. We have The Hunt for Bigfoot. And we have
so many.
The Search for Bigfoot, Monster, Myth, or Man. And we have The Hunt for Yeti here. There's two different versions of The Hunt for Bigfoot. I guess one is revised and updated, and they're all signed here. Is there any others over there?
I think those are the same.
And I have a couple here of A Fortunate Life.
A Fortunate Life, if you didn't hear that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Listeners out there, if you're into Bigfoot book collecting, you know how hard it is to find good Bigfoot books, and you never find them autographed by the authors. So, I mean, that's a huge reason you would want to go check out Area 58. Does it cost any money to get into the museum, Priscilla?
No.
Oh, wow. That's
nope,
awesome.
Just come on in.
Just bring yourself in. Alicia, how did you get involved with the museum?
Well, I had been kind of helping out, keep an eye on the Owl Moon Lab area for Tobe. My friend Jeff Rohn and I were down there a lot, and Tobe had reached out to me saying that Priscilla was going to open this museum, and he was like, hey, do you think that you'd like to help her with, some odd end, task things and possibly getting a YouTube channel going, which by no means am I a professional, but I can kind of help with some techie stuff. I had gone to the festival last year, but we didn't really, you were probably busy running around the whole time, but I hadn't actually officially met you until we met down at the Owl Moon Lab with Daryl when he came into town.
Olympic Strange Days.
Oh, and Olympic Strange Days, yeah.
So we didn't meet until September, and instant connection. I can't believe the connection with the Bigfoot community. It's just amazing. I feel like we've known each other forever.
Yeah, which you were just kind of saying that in the beginning too, Jeremiah. We clicked, and it feels like we've known each other for a long time. So
I think it's been 4 months.
Yeah. But I've just been coming here on my days off and helping out when I can, and just trying to but we've been also going out into the woods to your and your dad's spot and having some pretty interesting stuff happen. And yeah,
That's really cool. You're able to become involved like that. Are there any other people we want to make sure that we mention that are also involved with making Area 58 what it is?
Tobe Johnson he's amazing. He donated the Bigfoot knee prints, and he's been promoting it, and he's helping me this next Sasquatch Summerfest to MC, because I'm really shy, and I'm like, I'm really trying to get over it, and I will overcome my shyness.
Absolutely.
But so Tobe was like, I can MC. I'm so, I've done these before, and I'm used to it, and I have no problem with, public speaking. And I'm like, okay, absolutely.
And then when it comes to like going out and doing stuff, kind of our main crew is you, me, Steve, your husband, and then Jeff Rohn. So we usually get all together and go out into the woods and see what kind of stuff we can stir up out there.
Yeah.
That's
and just
awesome.
A few days ago, we had a walk-in who wanted to tell us his experiences. His name is Zach Miller. He's the one that had encountered a Bigfoot while he was out chopping or, using his chainsaw in the woods.
Yes.
And he left everything behind, and he came like to our house. He was like, because, he knew that we were, Bigfooters or whatever. And he's like, I left everything there. I don't want to go back by myself. And if you guys would like to come with me. And so all his stuff was there when we went back. And so that was fun. But him and his wife had an experience a few months ago, and he wanted to share that with us. So we documented it. And then we went out to his property and went up on the ridge, and we found some interesting stuff. And I haven't uploaded it yet. I need Alicia's help to.
But that's probably the next one that will come out.
Oh man, I'm glad that you bring that up, because one of the things that I like best about Area 58 is how you're able to provide a place for people to come in, share what they've experienced, and it's not all just Bigfoot related. You have a YouTube channel that has quite a few encounters out already. And would you be able to share maybe about some others that you've put up on the channel as well?
Oh yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, so this guy, his name is Sebastian, and he had contacted me last year before Sasquatch Summer, and he was interested in the more paranormal side, and he heard about Doug Meacham and doing the hypnotism for the abduction. But so he contacted me and said that he had been experiencing abduction since he's about 5 years old. And so, I asked him if he could come in, and so we documented that. And it's quite a story. And my heart goes out to him. I mean, he broke down and started crying while he was telling his abduction story. And then he told me that his girlfriend, who also experienced seeing aliens at his house at the foot of his bed, she's going to come in next and tell me what she experienced. And I'll be getting that up there too.
What are the times that people can come and visit the museum?
So I'm open Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. And Saturdays, we like to use it for, editing and the technical side. But I am here on a lot of Saturdays. If someone wants to come in and talk, or look at stuff around here, they can. But I may not be able to, do an interview on a Saturday. But Monday through Friday, 9 to 3.
Awesome. I will say from experience, it is relatively easy to get to Oakridge for people out of state. I mean, if you're having to fly in, you can just fly into Eugene, and then it's about a 45-minute drive down 58 or so, and it's right next to the Dairy Queen, right?
Yep.
Yep, right before it. And then people can also reach out through the Area 58 Museum Facebook or the Gmail, and it's just area58museum@gmail.com. That's another way if people want to schedule an interview with Priscilla or tell their story.
That's awesome.
I'm a good listener. I'm here to listen, not to judge. So
and that's a great deal of it. So listeners of my show have heard me talk a lot about an area called the Meadow area, or sometimes it's referred to Ronnie, or Ronnie's area, or Ronnie's research area, or Dwayne's area. It has a lot of different names. From here on out, it now, and I want to make sure I get this right, because I want to make sure people can follow along on all the different, areas. That area is being referred to as Oak Hole, correct?
yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. So now my listeners are all on board, because if I didn't say that, they would be so confused and lost. Right. Which I think it's a really awesome name for it, actually. So the Oak Hole area is the place where a lot of things have happened over the years. And listeners, if you want to hear more about this, if you go on YouTube under the playlist for Bigfoot Society, there's an Oakridge, Oregon playlist. It's all in there. There's a lot in there, and you can catch up with everything that's happened. But the cool thing about the Area 58 team is that you're not just staying in this one little building. You're actually going out to this area, I would say quite a bit. And you're spending time to go out and actively check out what is going on in this area. Would you be able to share a little bit about things that you've been able to experience?
So was that Christmas Eve that we?
It was just before Christmas that the big thing happened, and then we came back
for Christmas.
Okay. Yeah.
So we went out. My phone. Okay, so electronic weirdness happens every time we go up there and have an experience. Electric stuff just happens. Like the battery on our van will go low. Yeah. So that seems like, okay, we need to look at this every time, because I want you guys to notice that it'll be a full charge and then it'll just go low when we have an experience. But me and Alicia and I, we had taken off through the meadow, and I had my phone on a selfie stick, so I wasn't touching it. I had it on video. I had it sideways, and I hit the record, and I'm documenting us going into the woods from, the meadow. My phone it crashes. It doesn't, the battery just dies on it instantly. So I'm like, okay, Alicia, my phone just did some weird, I need you to start recording. And then she starts recording. But I'll tell you what happens after she records with my phone. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So, I've turned my camera on, and also it was raining, but we're walking back in there, and we kind of just stand and listen for a while, and all of a sudden we start hearing this rhythmic knocking, and we're looking at each other, just what the heck? Everybody else is back towards the road. We had a pretty big group with us that day, but we were the only ones back in there.
And my son, who's 19 and high functioning autistic, he knows where we're at. He drives up to our location, and he's running towards me and Alicia, and while this knocking, or actually it's a vocalization, it was a really deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was thinking, the first thing that popped in my head was, that it was knocking. Mm-hmm. But after further review, we think it was vocalization. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But my son, who's autistic, I'm so sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, go for it. Good.
I think that he actually may have, contributed to this encounter with, the connection with Bigfoot and autism, because I think it's just, there's an innocence there, and, and Ben, he's just like, I hear it. Maybe Bigfoot is real, because, that's his thing, is he likes to say Bigfoot's not real. And he's like, no, because that's a bear. And I'm like, I don't think bears knock. And he's like, okay, I'm leaving. And he gets in his car and goes back home because he doesn't want to be out there anymore. But okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah, well, I thought it was going to stop. And so I always try to do like the talking out loud thing, because I've had some luck with it in the past. So I just, when it stopped, I said like, thank you. Could you do that again? And the guys were coming. So like Jeff, Steve, and Ben were walking up towards us. And Priscilla's like, shh, like, you guys, something's going on. And so, but when I asked for it to do it again, it continued to do the same series of, at the time it sounded like knocking. But yeah, we had the recording of it and sent them to our Facebook group chat, and I believe you and Toe both enhanced the audio, and then that revealed potential vocals or even language possibly, which if people want to listen to those, Tobe uploaded them to the recent Olympic Strange Days live presents, and it's on the Area 58 channel, but I believe part 2 has the audio recordings in it, and listen with headphones. But yeah, that was a really wild experience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely had some of the sounds that sound like precursors of language that David Ellis will sometimes call out in different interviews that he does. And it's something that another group I was part of, the Sunday of Sasquatch Summerfest, the Sunday after we went up there, and we pretty much captured the same thing. Individual named Andrew captured it using his iPhone audio recorder. So it's fascinating to hear similar things captured in the same area. And then I was just thinking, as you're sharing about the batteries going dead on stuff, I was like, man, it's weird that we didn't really experience that. And then I was like, oh yeah, we did. And I remembered on Sunday when we were up there, I couldn't capture anything on it myself because my phone was dead. Ooh. All of a sudden, all my stuff was dead, and it didn't even click at the time. It was just like, man, it's so weird. I always charge up my stuff, and it's like nothing's working. Why is it all dead? It did not even click in my mind. But yeah, so I guess that potentially could have happened to me as well when I was out there in July. But so that's a very interesting audio that you guys captured. You have a really good group chat on the Area 58 channel, and I'll link that in the show notes so people can listen to that as well.
So when I got my phone back to the office and I started charging it, all of I have like 7,000 photos. They were all blurry. Old photos were blurry. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then the video, I'm like, 26 minutes. I didn't get a 26-minute video. What is this? And it was, so our video of us walking into the woods, which was only about no longer than a minute. Mm-hmm. It was 26 seconds, and then it switched to slow-mo. And went to the video took up 26 minutes for less than a minute video because it switched itself to slow-mo, which killed my memory and filled it, and which what made my camera stop. I was not touching it. I did not switch it. It was ahead of me like 4 feet with my, selfie stick, while I was recording. So,
yeah.
It's a very, very strange area up there. I think there's so many different ways that whatever is going on up there interacts with people. things that I've been up there where one night there was an individual walking down the road by themselves, and it wasn't in the meadow area, but she was walking from, to say this in such a way, there's another area where people will gather sometimes, and she was walking from that down the road back to the meadow, and she had actually heard her name called from the woods. So there's some really weird stuff that happens up there. Are there any other weird things that you guys have experienced up in that area since last July?
Yeah.
Okay, so I sell moss on eBay. I don't know why people buy moss, but they do. Okay. So a few days before my festival, I told Chad Dama from Searching for Sasquatch, I'm like, I have to go get moss. I have to sell it, or I have to ship it out in the morning because you only have 3 days, I'm like, and it's midnight. It's actually my birthday. It was July 17th. It was Wednesday morning. I turned 50. But Chad's like, yeah, let's go. I'll go pick moss with you. I'm like, are you really? And he's like, yeah, let's go. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So we go up to Oak Hole, and Chad's like 6'10". I mean, maybe that's what got these things' attention, because he's just a very tall human. But so he's grabbing moss from all these really high branches, and we're just out there talking. My granddaughter is with us, Eva. She's sitting in the car playing on the phone, and me and Chad are out there gathering moss and just talking. We've probably been out there for like 20 minutes, and then he's like, Priscilla, I was telling your dad, whatever, and that if you tighten up the flashlight lens, that'd be a good deterrent for Bigfoot. It's like just not even up there for Bigfoot. We're just talking, and he shines that light, and probably less than 50 yards away, there's eye shine, and it's tall, and he's like, Priscilla, and like I'm a little scared, It's dark, and my granddaughter is in the car, and then another set of eyes show up, and it's like a couple feet off the ground. And later we would find that actually there was a ledge. So it wasn't a baby Bigfoot or one crawling, because, of course I was thinking crawling, and, I'm scared to death. But it was on a ledge, and it was just like peeking over the ledge at us, curious as to, probably what we were doing. And I'm like, he's like, you want to go toward? I'm like, no, I don't want to go towards it. I'm going to go to the car and see Eva. And then Chad had seen one more set of eyes show up. This had gotten back to Cliff Brackman, who was at the festival. And he went back with them to look for prints or tracks, and he found one. So it was, extra confirmation that we, didn't see elk eye shine in the distance, or, that there was actual tracks that were found.
No, absolutely. There's an interesting thing that the group was able to do. I don't know if you would be able to share about this, is you actually did a kind of a overnighter in the Oak Hole area on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind sharing about what happened up there, Alicia?
We got very cold and wet. It was like sleet, snow coming down towards the end. So we ended up not being able to make it through the full night. We crashed on Priscilla's couch in her warm house. But we tried a whole lot of things. I have a bag full of gadgets for ghost hunting equipment, in addition to thermals and cameras, mics, all that stuff. But so we were trying to reach out to pretty much anything and everything, not just Bigfoot, out there to see if we got action. And it was pretty quiet for the most part, but except for
So she had the, what was it called?
We did an Estes method with the
Estes.
spirit box, and where you listen, one person listens while everybody else like listen or asks questions, and then I just say what I hear through the sweeping through the stations.
And so she goes over to the front of her car, and she had set down, what was it that you set down?
I think it was a recorder.
The recorder?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She had set down the recorder, and then she walks over to the front of her car, so she can't hear any questions that we might be asking. And then the recorder that was on the back of her car flies off and hits Steve in the foot.
Yeah, it wasn't like a slide off, like it just slipped off or anything. It was like something threw it on the ground.
Yeah. So we didn't have any Bigfoot activity, but we had that. It was
it was interesting, but we still had a great time. But I mean, I imagine maybe they wouldn't want to be up there when it's cold and sleet, snowing, whatever that was. But then we went back again. What was that? Was that last Tuesday? Because I think it was just after we did the live with Tobe. So we went up there for a few hours after that, and we were kind of split up more. Like the guys Steve and Jeff were in an area, and then you and me and Ben were together for a bit. And then I was feeling confident, and I walked off down the road towards the dead end. And at one point, I mean, I was even walking, like I turned the flashlight off on my phone because we weren't prepared to really go out into the woods that day. So I didn't have anything on me besides the flashlight on my phone. And I was just walking in the dark at one point. I'm not sure what came over me, but I was like feeling very confident. And
she thought she was brave.
I was brave. And I used my voice, I think it's called voice note on iPhones. That's what I use to record on my phone if I have nothing else. And I was trying to get some activity, and I was doing the like talking out loud, and there wasn't really many responses or anything. It was very quiet. And then I asked if they could like take some steps towards me and like stick breaks or something so that I could hear them walking or that they're in my presence. And a few seconds pass, and immediately like that, I hear steps of like twig branches breaking towards my direction on the left side of the road. And I just lost it. I like yelled out. I came running back. But initially I kind of screamed, and then I'm like laughing as I'm running towards Priscilla.
I'm running towards her.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would be able to do, but
yeah.
And the guys are way off
yeah.
in the back. It's like they couldn't even hear me say, hey guys, Alicia needs help.
And you're like, I don't have anything on me to protect us, because really I should have been thinking about the fact that there could be, bear, cougar, whatever out there. But the fact that it happened right after I asked makes me lean towards it was maybe one of them, because it was like kind of an intelligence required response in a way. So then we went back, just her and I, and they did it for her. I asked if they could do it. I apologized. I was like, sorry, I got scared and I ran off. And I asked if they would do it again. And they did take a couple more steps. And then we called the guys over to hear, the EMF detectors.
It's going crazy again.
But then when the guys, kind of backed us up and had protective measures in case it was a predatory animal, then it was completely silent. So, and I really wish I had my thermal on me, because I could have possibly seen something, but then again, maybe they wouldn't have came so close if I did. So I don't know, but that was funny and scary at the same time.
That's some wild stuff. I don't know how I would have reacted myself. More power to you for that's the thing I like about you is you're not scared to to try
Mhm.
pretty stuff out there, and more
So
power
maybe
to you.
someday I can, yeah,
Yeah.
someday I can not freak out, but
Yeah. Ever since, because we had an interview after, man, it feels like a lot longer than that, but it was after we met in July at the festival, and then I had you on the show. And after that, I was like, yeah, she is not afraid to try
yeah,
some stuff for sure,
Mhm.
which is pretty cool.
might be a little
When
traumatized
research-
afterwards, but
Yeah, well,
Just
there you
kidding.
go. Oh man, I cannot wait to go back out there in a few months and to experience more of the Oakridge area. It's a beautiful town. I mean, to kind of talk about the town itself is, I mean, it's known as the mountain bike capital of the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean, so it's a pretty big deal. Like if you're into mountain biking and Bigfoot, it's the perfect place to be. Priscilla, if you could have any person come in the museum that you might really want to meet, do you have any names you'd want to and throw out to maybe manifest it?
You know what? So, speaking of this, Ron Moorhead, I would love to meet him. I did not know this. He's from Mariposa, California, which I'm from Mariposa, California. I never knew that he was from there. And he owned the 49er, or Miner's Inn, sorry. Miner's Inn was a restaurant that I would always go to as a kid. And I don't know if he owned it when I went there, but I had the opportunity to drive him to Mariposa last year. And I was like, you know, I'll just take you. And I would love to, you know, hear your stories and just pick your brain all the way down there, and then, you know, meet up with some of my childhood friends. But the drive never happened. So, you know, I would love to meet Ron Moorhead.
Well, you never know. Maybe it'll happen. I mean, having a place like Area 58, you never know who's going to walk through the door. I hear stories from about Cliff's Museum all the time, and the people that show up in that place, some pretty special stuff. And I can see the same thing happening to Area 58 as well. So cross your fingers, Ron might come through the door. I think I remember hearing back in the day, like he used to actually live in that area or do a lot of research in that area. I think maybe further west a little bit, around Westford. I don't know. I have to look through my notes. It's been a while, but he is such a cool guy. One of the nicest guys in Bigfooting that you can talk to, for sure. But Alicia and Priscilla, it's been such a fun chat about the museum, Area 58, and what you guys have been experiencing. I want to make sure if there's anything else that you were wanting to make sure that you shared about the museum before we close out our first part of the interview.
Well, I promised Kathy Griffin that I would make a mention of the Peter C. Byrne Memorial College Scholarship Fund, and that they are, you know, accepting donations to help a kid from the Tillamook County High School to attend college. So anybody who wants to make a tax-deductible donation, they can send it to 1221 Southwest Yamhill Street, Suite 100, Portland, Oregon, 97205, and make it out to the Oregon Community Foundation.
Awesome. Absolutely. And Alicia, do you mind taking a few minutes to remind listeners and viewers of how they can visit the museum and keep up to date with what you guys are doing there?
yeah. So we are encouraging people who have stories of strangeness of any kind. Doesn't have to be Bigfoot or aliens necessarily, it could be anything. They can come in Monday through Friday from 9 to 3. And you can also reach out to the Area 58 Museum Facebook and the Gmail. You can always send an email to set up an interview, which is just the Area 58 museum at gmail.com. And what we are kind of hoping to do is get enough subscribers that we could start doing some monthly live talks here. I think hosting them here at the shop and just talk about a lot of awesome topics and have people maybe share their stories or encounters in person and just have a good time and being weird, talking about the weird stuff.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you both for coming on. I really appreciate it. And it'll be interesting and exciting to see what happens with Area 58 in future years.
And I always have coffee on.
Oh, there you go.
Just want to take a few minutes to say thank you to you, all my listeners, for listening to the podcast. Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's a list. Number 1, encounters from Franklin County, Texas. Number 2, encounters from the entire state of Iowa. Number 3, encounters from Oakridge, Oregon, or the surrounding area. Number 4, any individuals that know about Bigfoot being flown off after the Mount St. Helens eruption. Number 5, individuals that have had a Bigfoot encounter while in the military. Number 6, those that have had a Bigfoot encounter in the southern New Hampshire or north central Massachusetts area, including Franklin County, Massachusetts. Number 7, individuals that have had a Bigfoot encounter in a Bible camp or Boy Scout camp setting. Number 8, individuals that have had Bigfoot try to enter their house forcibly while they were living inside. Number 9, individuals that have actively have a Bigfoot living on their property. And lastly, any sightings that are in the Ouachita National Forest area of Oklahoma or Arkansas. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. I'll see you back next time, listeners. Sasquatch Summerfest this year, July 11th through the 12th. It's going to be fantastic. July 11th through 12th in Green Waters Park in Oakridge, Oregon. And listeners, if you're going to go, you can get a 2-day ticket for the cost of one. If you use the code BFS, like Bigfoot Society, but BFS, and it'll get you some off your cost. Priscilla was nice enough to provide that for my listeners. So there you go. I look forward to seeing you there. So make sure you head over to www.sasquatchsummerfest.com and pick up your tickets today.